Good evening, Legonauts. How are you doing this afternoon? Today we are going to talk about scale. Yeah, Johnny, I think I'll work on it. How's my voice now? Oh, sound. Okay. Well, I'll play around with that later. Okay. So, welcome. I'll work out the sound issues, and I apologize if the stream is a little bit rough. My stream health is saying poor, so I'm going to have to switch some things around. So, all right, today we're going to talk about scale. And first thing is, what do you want your scale to be? And the big question is what are you trying to build? Today we're going to be building to this the Lego Discovery Shuttle uh, Kit 10283. This is about a 70th 1 to 70th scale version of the space shuttle. It came out, I believe, last year, and few people have designed to it because it's such a large vehicle. And then today, like I said, we're going to talk about scale, and let's get to it. Hmm. Oh, there we go. Trying to figure out all my buttons. All right. All right, scale. So I'm going to show you how I do scale. Scale is you got to know what type of scale you're going for. Most, if you're doing straight to a minifigure scale, it's between 1/40th to 1/45th scale, I believe. If you're looking to do like to the Lego Space Shuttle that we're going to be doing, that's about a 1 to 70th. If you were doing to say the Lego Saturn V kit, that's about a 1 to 110th scale. And if you were doing to the Lego ISS kit, that's a 1 to 220th scale. Today, like I said, we're going to go to the Discovery shuttle scale, which is a 1 to 70th. And I have this linked into the description below, is the inch calculator. Now, this is a nice free site that you can go in and figure out your scale. You just need to know what scale you want, the real the real size of your vehicle or your real size of your build, and then you can calculate it directly down. Now, what I'm going to be doing is designing and building Starship. Um, Most people, there's only one or two mocks out there for Starship that I've seen that are pretty decent, and we're going to see about building a very large one. And the idea is to show you step by step on how to get a mock from design to full built to different iterations of what you might need to do, and to get instructions made way down the line. So what you need for scale are, like I said, the actual height or the actual dimensions, and you want to write these down wherever you want. Hi, you are. How you doing? Um, just going over scale. We're going to be doing. You need to have your full dimensions. So For Starships, the full height of the full stack is 394 feet, and your diameter is 29.5 feet. Now, I could do it directly to 100 meters. I don't like doing that. Personally, I like doing standard, converting it over, and it makes it a little bit more accurate. Hi, Exodus Montessori. So, as you can see, I already have it plugged in at 394 feet into the scale calculator. You hit calculate. It gives you total in feet, which will, and what you'll do with that, you just want to copy and paste it, and then go to Google, and then you just put foot to millimeters, and then just put it on and click off of it, and then you have your scale to millimeters. Now you're probably asking why millimeters or why anything else. Well, a Lego brick is in metric. With it being a European company, it's all metric. But the biggest thing you need to know from these bricks, as I have up on the wall of Lego Dimension, is the 3.2 millimeter, which is the height of a plate, and 8 millimeter, which is the width of a plate or a block. Those are the most crucial numbers that you need to know as of right now. And later on, we'll start talking about other measurements and other bricks and everything to get an idea what dimensions they are. Alright. Now what you're going to do is take this number and you're going to pop up your calculator. Your calculator, what you want is the millimeter number. Now with height, you always want to go with the height of a plate. It's the smallest form of a Lego piece, and you really can't get much smaller with a plate, so you want to use that number, which is 3.2 millimeter. So what you'll do is you'll put in the number into the calculator and then divide by 3.2, and it'll pop out this number right here. That's going to be the full height of your scale model. It is the 536.16225. So that's just one of many numbers. I'm not going to bore you with going through and doing all the calculations because I've already done them for you. But going to the manufacturer's website, in this case SpaceX.com, is a great way to figure out finding dimensions and whatnot. And then you can just go in here, figure out the height of each stage. Like Starship is 164, but it has the same diameter. You don't have to worry. You just want to write that number down once. Once you do it once, you won't have to do it again. And then Super Heavy, which we'll be working on tonight, is 226 feet. And then the other numbers you'll need is the Raptor engines. These numbers are going to be the crucial for our base, and it's a detail that most people will want to see in case you want to put your build on the side, or depending on how you want to display it. And then you got two different type of rocket engines. You got the Raptor sea level and then the Raptor vacuum engine, which is a little bit bigger, but you'll need those numbers. Now, once you get your numbers all figured out, written down, placed wherever you want to place them, go back over here to Studio, And here's all the numbers, every single one of them. Now I let them in the long form, just to give you an idea of what's going on. The rocket full height is 536. We already knew that. But the odd thing is that when you scale those dimensions down and you add those two numbers, they don't add up to that number. And that's just part of the scaling process. I kind of think of it as a buffer between heights. So if you need to go up an extra plate, it's not going to affect you in the long run. In this case, we have 6 plates, or two bricks high that we can mess around with. So we'll figure that out. Now tonight we're going to I think we're going to design the Raptor vac and the Raptor engine tonight. And then if we get to the super heavy and whatnot. But once you have your dimensions, you can you can start figuring out what you need. And that, like for the diameter, we can tell it's 16 studs wide. Now, like I said, I did a lot of this beforehand, a lot of the testing, just to make sure that it is feasible to do it, and it took me a long time. All the different, now these are for 8-sided round diameters. So I just wanted to show all the different things you can do with this technique. Even go up to how big they are. We can go up to a 40 stud wide diameter with this technique before it starts looking a little odd. But we're kind of looking for a 16 stud. And I also laid out for certain spacecraft at these studs. The Sea Dragon diameter, Starship, which will what we'll be doing, and like I said, we already have I've already know that this will work. And then the SLS Block 1B, just went through and did a bunch of diameters through all of them. So once you figure out your diameter, what you want to use, just go from there. We'll save that for later, but right now we're just going to concentrate on the Raptor engine. So the height is 13 plates tall, almost 14, and the diameter is 2.2. So with the diameter at 2.2, get some techniques starting to go here. I tend to use the light bluish gray color for a lot of it, just easier on the eyes. Working on stuff, and then you can always change the color later on. So really, it doesn't matter what color you make stuff. It can always be changed. That's the beautiful thing about Bricklink Studio. It's an awesome CAD program for Lego designers. So we're going to go down here to Brick Modified. Now, one of the techniques that I've seen done for cones, it's a little bit blocky. Personally, I don't like it, but I want to see how it works. So how's everybody doing tonight? On this wonderful Wednesday. Tiny rocket, yeah. The engines are going to look really tiny compared to the rest of the model, but it all comes together in the end. So now what I'm trying to do here is to see how big this is. Now it's a little bit bigger than what I would like. That's almost three studs wide and a 3-stud square. Try to figure out. What cones do we got? So also do a bunch of 2 rounds. I mean, you got plenty to pick from. So going on. So going back to SpaceX webpage, we're just going to get an idea of what the Raptor looks like. You want to grab as many reference photos as much as possible, trying to get a 3-dimensional feel for what the vehicle is. Now we know that there's a big bulb. What we were just working on was the exhaust nozzle, and then we know that comes in and it looks like there's a double tier right here, and then it gets real narrow at the top, and then you have where the fuel and everything, the fuel intake is. So let's go back. Alright, and then you want to start referencing your designs, your numbers. So we have a 13 plate high, almost 14 plate high structure that's 2 diameter. So with those numbers, what I normally like to do is I'll take a bunch of 1x1s, and just put them in a grid pattern. I'll switch up the colors to give it a little more, so I can see how I can easily count what height they are. And I normally do them in tens, since a lot of the metric is done in tens. All the metric's done in tens. And then I'll go down here and create a submodel. And then the height 13.87. So I typically go down to a smaller. And then down here you can also see parts, how many parts you got. So I know there's 13 plates sitting right there after I select them. And then I'll put a top plate on it now. Just make it dark bluish gray. Something that pops out to you, or put it as blue. It really doesn't matter. As long as you have the height you need. So, and that's how tall the Raptor engine needs to be. And to get the detail you want out of it, you really want to work at the bottom up. Now, like I said, this is a little bit bigger. I have a feeling I'm going to end up having issues later down the road, just with the width, just knowing how tight those Raptor engines are together. So I'm going to get rid of that. I got a beehive. These beehives work beautifully for rocket nozzles. So I think that's what I'm going to use. And then we're just trying to get the shape and everything close enough to the reference photo. I completely forgot I was on that page. Back up, there we go. So like I said, so this is where you're at right here. So this will be the beehive, and then it'll kind of loop and then come back in with that other part. So the next step is just build your way up. And since we're dealing with a lot of round plate, we're just going to stick with it and go to 2x2. I think yeah, I could dig that. Get that there. Go to bars. Now, unfortunately, you have to also keep in mind with a lot of these round pieces, some of them have holes, some of them do not. So for me to be able to put a bar through there, I would legitimately have to modify this piece here, which I know is taboo among a lot of people. They don't like modifying parts and everything. But in my opinion, if you need to do it and it's a last resort, then do it. You just have to explain it in your instructions. And that's the thing about Studio, you can pretty much place anything and everything in there. But you have to remember that certain pieces don't have those holes. And unfortunately, Lego does not have a 2 bar. But I think that's fine. We gotta... Instead of hopping back and forth with you guys, I'm just looking at the reference photo myself. And on... Okay, so it comes down and around. So we have to figure out how to get this piece down and around to about here. A piece down and around about. So we're going to do a lot of clipping. I'm going to use some clips. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your text or your chat. 3D printing. 3D printing can work, but the problem is that when you're building and designing, it depends on what you're building and designing for. If 3D printing is, you want to go 3D printing, then chances are you are not going to be able to go into competitions or anything like that. As soon as they find out that you have a non-Lego piece, produced piece in your build, it automatically disqualifies you. That's the only thing. Now you can design it if you don't intend to take it to shows or anything like that. Then yeah, you could easily use 3D printing to create specific Lego pieces. But honestly, I've seen people do it, and I'm not 100% sold on it, because what 3D printing does is it's just layer upon layer, versus what Lego does, and it's compression molding, essentially. So I try to stay pretty clear away from 3D printing. I have thought about it in the past for a couple specific builds, but Lego is very, very strict when it comes to, you know, if you want to go display it somewhere, they won't allow you to have parts and pieces from even that are not Lego. Like was designing an ISS for this scale. I wanted to do real solar panels, but I really couldn't display it anywhere because I was doing actual solar panels to light it up. But yeah, Bricklink or in Studio, you can just type anything, and pretty much you got to know certain key reference words like clip. If you choose clip, then every single piece will come that has a clip on it will show up. Now right now I'm looking for a piece that will give me this and possibly a bend. Problem is I don't think any of those work. Let's go down to the unit minifig. What about a golf club? try those. But I think, yeah, they're only going to be in white. Reddish brown, won't be able to use those. The hockey stick. Yeah, but here's the thing. Where I need it is right in here. And then the other issue is probably going to have to modify it, chop it off at the top. Plus, again, you can only get it in white, or I use the other hockey stick. Or reddish brown. Like certain pieces, I already know what they come in. Like the fire hoses. My favorite piece is the minifig paint roller brush, just because it gives you that extra curve and it goes around. You can do a lot with it for accent pieces. It could work, but it's hitting. Yes, you can create your own instructions with this program. It was something that I was going to save for a future stream, um, but you can actually take and you can go. Let's save this real quick. Go up here. You'll see the instruction. That'll take you into an instruction maker, and you must know where you. And it'll give you this. And then what you'll do is you can pull what you want, select what you want, and see if I'm doing this right. Yep. Just pull it into the next one. You can do it with pretty much anything. And then that's how you start your steps. And then once you start going into there, you can go to page design, and it'll start bringing, and the program will automatically start bringing up your steps, and then you can customize it, format it however you want. But it's simple. It's simple, but it's hard. You have to understand exactly how to do the stuff and what the format are. You can go columns or line separators, go global star, you can put columns. You can even go up here and change the layout. I mean, it's just, it's hard to explain, but it's easy enough to use. So, if I, oh, there we go. I'm gonna have to look at this later on. Uh, Try to figure something out. So, but that's the basic shape I was going for the rocket engine. Now, I would like to get a pipe to come down and go down here, but I'm not seeing anything as of right now. And there's so many parts and pieces. I could be sitting here for hours just trying to figure something out. So, now the nice thing about rocket engines, a lot of them are pretty much looking the same. With this one in particular, the top half is pretty much the same as the top half of the Raptor vacuum engine. The only difference is the height and the diameter. So again, we'll go back to, we'll just make a quick copy of that for a scale ruler. And we need a 20 and a half. I'm just going to make it a 20. And stick my topper on it. And just put it into a little submodel. So I know that's the exact height I need. It's 20 plates high. Now I do have about a half a plate of buffer that I can play with through here. So if I go a little bit tall, it shouldn't be an issue. Now the engine bell housing, for the Raptor vacuum is a lot bigger. We're at a 4 stud wide. Forward stud diameter. Now, if I didn't tell you what when most people talk about studs, they're talking about one stud, which is the 8mm. So height, I'm talking about the 3.2, and diameter, I'm talking stud length. So I know I got a 4-round stud, so back up here. Brick round cone. So you'll just want to go in your cones and see what type of 4-round cones you have. Now the funny thing about this cone right here, this hasn't been produced since the 1960s. They're somewhat hard to find, but it was the old train stack on one of the kits, which it goes to 1. Yeah, don't worry about that one. I think this one is too short. I don't think it'll look all that well. Yeah. That looks about right. Changes. And there you have it. I think that's a good Raptor vacuum engine. Fortunately, I don't have this set up. Actually, I do have it set up. Back to F1. It's pretty close. The page would be nice to me and let me actually look. Yeah, that's pretty. It's a pretty close representation of it. Like I said, I got to figure something out for come down. Into a submodel, and then you can always go over here you can rename your submodels. Sometimes this will do this too on you in the studio. You gotta watch out for it. You literally have to hide the bar. And then make sure it's clipped to the top. And then you can show the bar again. Now, I think I have my basics set up for what I want to do, the Raptor engines. And what I'll do is since I won't need those anymore, make sure we save now. Now we're on to the diameter. And now this was a big pain. Trying to figure out all this because the Raptor engines you won't need. We're actually going to be doing super heavy first. But you do need 33 of these because there's 33 of these engines underneath the actual vehicle. That's a lot of stuff that needs to be connected. So now how do I get a diameter that'll work? Well, go back down the row. Cleats. We can use these. And then we can figure out exactly what each one of these angles are going to be. And then you just create a continuous circle around to actually figure out the dimensions. I believe the calculation that I came up with was 360 divided by how many points there are, or how many points there are. So, and then you need to double it. Yeah, 33. It's a lot to work with. And then get the feeling those are going to be too small. So I'm just going to go with break out my calculator. So I need, the way Starship is set up, it is 20 on the outer ring, 10 on the inner ring, and then 3 on the center. So we're going to start working on the outer ring. So we're going to do 360. Well, let's just do 360 divided by 20. That gives you 18. We'll see if that works. Now the thing with Studio, is they just won't, you could copy and paste a lot of the stuff at the angle you need. With circles, I like to start at the 0 mark. There we go. And then you just start putting your number in that you got. And then you have to continuously, since you're doing it on a 360, you actually have to continuously keep adding your dimension. And in this instance, it's 18 degrees. Got 54. And if you need to double check yourself, you can always select it and make sure your numbers are. Now that I have this pretty much all done, I can just easily copy and paste. Change my number to 90 to 108. And 324. And there you have it. You can see that it lines up almost perfectly. If you do the math right, you can get any circle you want. Now I know this only comes in black. Then we're gonna create that into a submold. Then what you're going to do is try to eyeball it as best as possible. Yeah, this is a little too small. So we have to go through the whole process again, trying to figure out what do we need bigger. Try 4 and 2, see if adding 1 stud to each will. this is the time consuming part of it. You just got to go back through and just redo it, you know, just keep on redoing it until you get what you need. Just trying to find that 0 point. There we go. Now I know I need 20 points, so the degrees haven't changed. We're just trying to make it bigger. Yeah, it's definitely a process. It's long, it's time consuming. I need to keep my eye on the chat window more often. Okay, got the 90. Now see, I started off by not putting this in the right direction, so it's not at that 0. So when I go to copy and paste, like I just did, it will go. You'll have to figure out what's the 18 degrees or whatever your degree is off of that. So it's just easier just to go back, figure out which place you didn't put wrong, and just redo pretty much the whole setup again. And I think after I get this done and see if it works, probably wrap up the stream. Trying to keep it to an hour. I'll definitely be on again next week. And uh-oh. Something isn't right. And unfortunately you have to start all over again. If you have a degree that is off and it's not lining up and you know you're supposed to get a perfect circle, you'll just have to really start all over again. Then you have to go back, double check everything. That's why circles are one of the harder forms to do with Lego. Yeah, I mean, you could, but you're just going to end up wasting more time trying to figure out where you went wrong versus just, it's quicker just to start over. I mean, I could sit here over the rest of the night just trying to figure out on that one little bit what I did wrong. I click the box, right? There we go. That's the way it should look. Don't know where I screwed up, but it's fixed now. Creating a submodel. Pretend. Put it over. And this one's a little bit bigger. So what I could do is replace all these with a, go into the submodel, go in here and replace it with all two, but then I gotta go back. So I think that's where what I need to do. It needs to be a 4 and a 2. And that should shrink it up enough to get us on the edges. Try to quickly do this. Yeah, we'll start there. Then you can always just add. Yeah, 3 won't work, but the 4 and 2. But I mean, when it comes to diameter, I mean, you're just trying to figure out what will go into, what will work with you for what you need into a circle. So we got 4, 3, and 2. So any combination can do that. But I definitely, the thing is that I need 20 points to, to work with to be able to fit all these engines underneath. And it loves being this glitchy mess sometimes, especially when you get a lot of pieces and parts like this on here. This program will start glitching on you. Something to do with the coordinate system. Oof. Oh. I see what I did. But eventually we'll get there. But you can see how important it is to actually start at the 0 and work your way around. It just makes life a lot more easier. Making sure things are in the right direction. came up small. So now we know it's not any of those. So it's probably a 2, 4, and a 3. It's somewhere in between. So I think I'm going to get a. I'll do this off camera and get everything lined up for next week. Yeah, the 3 and 4, the 3 round brick and the 4 round brick. I believe I already did that, but I don't know. I gotta go. Oh, that's just. Something seems off. Like I said, I'll figure it out off camera. I know it's getting late. I'm sure everybody has work to go to tomorrow. So, well, at least we got the Raptor engine somewhat completed tonight, and the Raptor vacuum and diameter figured out. And I hope you all have a good evening. And until next week, I'll see you then.